You see, you know, I stood out here 3 or 4 weeks ago before I had the title match with Terry Funk, and I told everybody that I needed, because the doctors had told me that I needed to take some time off to let some little nagging injuries heal. I got a herniated disc in my neck. I got bone spurs and chips in my elbow, and I got stretched ligaments in my knee. And that's nothing that would keep you out for a long period of time, but like I said, it's just nagging injuries that the doctors had told me if you don't take some time off and let these things get well, they're going to bother you for the rest of your life. So I have fully intended to let that championship match be my last match for a while. I was going to take some time off. But the first thing that happens is Eric Embry comes out here and he starts running his mouth saying, oh, the King's retiring. I never said one word about retiring, but Eric Embry comes out and says the King is quitting. And now everywhere I go around town, I hear people come up to me and they say, hey, I hear you're hanging up, I hear you're retiring. Well, let me tell you something. Now I go to bed at night and I sit there and I think, you know, if I take that time off now, Eric Embry is going to go around running his mouth saying, I retired the King. He's going to say, I put the King out of wrestling. Well, let me tell you something, Eric Embry. You couldn't put me out of wrestling, you and Tom Pritchard and all the rest of the stooges you can line up behind you on your best day.
Eddie, I don't know if you've been able to hear the conversation here. I know you've been helping Bill, but
I've got a guy back there hurt now.
Well, I realize that, Eddie, but you don't have a doctor's smock on. You're not a doctor, so if that kid needs a doctor, so call him one. And you need to be out here because I got a little proposition I want to make to you. Now, as I don't know, you didn't hear what I just said. You know that I came to you and I told you that the doctors needed me to take some time off, and I came out here after intending for that title match to be my last match for a while. But then Eric Embry comes running his mouth about he's retiring the King and he's putting me out of wrestling, and I'm not going to stand for that. I am not going to take that time off and have Eric Embry running around telling everybody that he retired me, because you know it ain't so, and I know it ain't so, and Eric Embry knows it ain't so. So here's my proposal. I want you to just add a match. One little match, me, Eric Embry, nobody else, just me and Eric Embry, and let him bring that precious little Texas title of his to the ring, that little belt of his that he's so proud of, the state of Texas. They're so stupid, they're out here thinking that Texas is the biggest state in the union. Let me tell you something, boys. There's a new thing called Alaska, you idiots, in case you've ever heard of it. That's the biggest state in the union. And you know, what he doesn't realize, he needs to do a little history lesson. He needs to check back on the state of Texas, and you would realize that the biggest city in the state of Texas is named after a Tennessean. His name is Sam Houston. And if it wasn't for him and people like the volunteers from the state of Tennessee, you would be a Mexican, Eric Embry. Do you realize that? You wouldn't even be an American. You'd be a daggum Mexican. Because that's where Texas would be if it wasn't for the people from the state of Tennessee going down to Texas and bailing your rear ends out. Now, I want Eric Embry, just me and him in the ring, and I'm going to show him once and for all that he ain't going to retire me, because what I'll do is I'll retire him and I'll retire that Texas belt at the same time. Can I get it, Eddie? I'm not asking you to change the card. I'm not asking you to take any matches off. I'm just asking you to add one match.
Well, I agree. You know, we've got to do something about Eric Embry, and I do have an open contract on him, so we'll add the match. The match will be signed.
We got to
go take care of Bill.
All right.
To the fact that about the time that I put my foot down and told you a few things that we need to really do. And that's referable to all of the wear and tear that you've subjected your body to. And I think it's time that I stepped into the ring and said, Jerry, it's time to take a break. And we need to let some of these regions regenerate and heal a little bit. And I wanted to show you a few of the things, specifically the neck. You've had some neck injuries. Mm-hmm. You've had elbow injuries. You've had knee injuries. But specifically, if we look at the x-ray of your neck region here, you've got very excellent bone. At the present time, it's in good shape, but you're giving it a beating. You're beginning to show some evidence of a lot of muscle spasms from your past injuries. Mm-hmm. And if we continue this, then you'll be in a lot of pain. I know your fans don't want you to be in constant pain to be the king that you are. So what I'm going to say to you again is I want you to take some time off. Now, I'll settle. I like 6 weeks, but I'll settle for 4 weeks. And during that period of time, I'm going to ask you to do a few things that will necessitate some physiotherapy, a little bit of working out, but not as vigorous as you've been doing in the ring.